experience was?
I have to go.
Okay, I'm sorry. The question, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted. The question was, can you share some of the more powerful spiritual experiences? Naturally, if coming to the way I was brought to vomiting wasn't powerful enough, while I was there, what he showed me very simply is as I sat in meditation, he would show me that all those who bring God's light are one. That he would have literally introduce me to bring before them and say they are all, the message is all the same. And it is we human beings who have taken them apart and teach us to overcome all these conflicts. I suppose one other is that, I don't know any of you like cosmology or the idea of life on other planets and things like that. But, I've never paid much attention to Timothy Leary's work in this LSD and the psychedelic industry. When I was there, after I had these experiences, I came across one of Leary's books in which he was claiming that LSD was a vehicle to realize God, and you could see your past lives and your future and all this kind of stuff. And I took the book to him. And I said, Balaji, this is what this guy is saying. And he laughed, and he said, you want to see something. And he sat me down, and he literally took me on a guided tour of the universe, and showed me planets with other people, much more advanced civilizations. I was able in my diary to describe the soil, what the soil looked like, some with binary suns, some with beautiful, just incredible vistas, the clothes that people were wearing, their tunics and almost fluorescent threads in their garments. And literally each step would take me to the sun and beyond and out to corridors of light, really unbelievable corridors of light, and then bring me back in terms and ask me, where did this come from? Who showed you? Who Monica's speech, who causation would speak. I think it's safe to say, and I say in the book, look, I'm nothing special. I think that's the most important thing. I'm here in a coat and tie because that was uniform for a long time, and I had to go on a TV show today. I'm just like anybody else. These experiences don't make me any different than anyone, except for whatever reason, and God only knows, I was chosen to have them and to then be able to write about them. But what is most important is that it's very difficult when you when a standard is set. It's not that you had the experiences, it's how do you live by it. And that's why I entitled the book A Path to Follow, A Life to Lead. Because it's not so much everyone may be on a path, but as you said, how do you integrate them? How do you maintain your standards? And that's the most difficult thing. Because Balaji said that real spirituality is reflected in your character. And that our character is the most important. Anyone else? A lot of old friends and other devotees here. Anybody want to add anything or share anything?
People from all over the world travel to meet Babaji.
Yes.
Many great and powerful people would come just to meet him or take counsel from him. Was there ever occasions when spiritually elevated people would come so that he could actually find a colleague or someone that is a kind of a partner rather than the way most of us would come to learn or to take? Did he ever find one of his visitors where you can see it's like maybe an old ball player finding another old ball player. You know the story with one another. Have you ever experienced that type of encounter?
It's a great question. Frank, then to Frank. Can I embarrass you? I'll embarrass you later. But Frank is the Reverend Moon's #1 guy certainly in the United States, has been and runs the scholarly aspects of the entire program in Old Friend. Honestly, I would say the answer is no, because having said that, when Father Gregorius, when other people would come, there would be a great love and great embrace and a great recognition. But Babaji understood that from childhood, and I guess that Joginder often shares this story, but when I would bring friends or when I would bring scientists, sort of at the end of a talk, Babaji would say, ask me any question. Ask me any question. Because when you ask, the one inside me answers, and I learn too. So his own perspective on himself sort of presupposed that I'm just here like everybody else. It's the one inside me who is doing this. And so from that standpoint, I think the answer, Tony?
I'm somewhat hesitant to address the question the young lady asked you there about spirituality. Let me footnote something. I had the great grace of meeting Maharaji over 20 years, but he wasn't my guru. My guru was somebody else. That's not relevant. Ralph had the greater grace of having an inside seat. But I wanted to address the spiritual story as to how I was drawn to Babaji. I had no desire to go to him. I had a guru who had left his body many, many years ago, and in India I was brought up to basically mistrust the so-called Babas, because for every one that is real, there was a million that are fraudulent. I'll cut the story short. 5 years, my mother went to him every couple of days after my father had died. And she kept saying, oh, I met this. My guru was one that had come to our house for 4 generations, so we knew nothing else. And she kept talking about him, and I was still cynical, and I thought that this old man taking advantage of a young widowed lady, which was my mother. Forgetting all the other stories, I saw little glimpses here and there, and I said, oh, this sounds good. Then I was based in London, I used to work for a bank, and I got a phone call. I was in a meeting, my secretary pulled me out and said, there's your brother, who happens to be a diplomat in Pakistan, calling, and he said, he pulled you out of the meeting, and I knew immediately that something serious. His son had been diagnosed with leukemia, and they've shown 5 different specialists, and all of them have come to the same conclusion, the serious and the leukemia. And he said, I'm flying to London, I haven't told Mark. There's a children's hospital that specializes in children with leukemia. Will you set up the appointments and we'll see them tomorrow? So I had the dubious distinction of calling back my mother to tell her that her grandson had just been diagnosed with leukemia. She didn't say anything to me, she went straight to Maharaji. About an hour and a half later, called me and said, Maharaji said it's serious. But he wants me to be in the Havan, in the room with the fire that has to be and at the exact point that your nephew is in hospital, so can you tell me what time you fix the appointments? So I said, look, don't start this, Ma, because this is terrible. This is a very difficult time, and I don't want to give all soap to my brother. She said, look, I didn't ask you for your opinion. I have great faith in my nephew. Just tell me what time we fixed up the damn appointment. So I told her. And I started cleaning my desk because I was going to take time off to be with my brother and his family. And then I got a call 2 hours later from his secretary in Pakistan to say, look, he doesn't want to wait till the next day. He wants to go directly from Heathrow to the hospital. So I changed the appointments, but I neglected to tell my mother. And as I reached the hospital, I picked my brother up to the airport, reached the hospital, and he was carrying all the medical. I'm sorry to take up this time.
No, this is
But he was carrying all the medical history. We arrived at a bunch of doctors. Doctors looked at it and said, it's fairly serious. And at that point, it occurred to me, I forgot to tell my mother. And she's going to kill me. So this was, and my heart sank anyway. We arrived back home. They had to run a bunch of tests and it would take 3 or 4 days. I called my mother back and I said, Ma, I know you're not going to believe me, but I didn't do this on purpose, but I forgot to call you, but we changed the appointment. She said, oh, that's why Gobind Sadan, somebody called and said, Maharajji wants you right now, not tomorrow. So she ended up, she said, I will take 4 hours. And 4 hours later, Maharaj called her and said, it was serious, but the man up there, and he used to constantly say, oh, I'm only a messenger, that inner voice. He said, I'm nobody, I'm just a post office. I only pass the message. But the danger has passed. The doctors, it has gone. So anyway, I screamed at Ma when she said this to me. I said, don't you dare say this to my brother, because this is nonsense. You're going to give him false hope. And we went back 4 days later. We had gone through test after test over those 4 days. 4 days later, there were these 5 English doctors who called us in and said, I don't quite know how to say this to you, but it's disappeared. It's just, here are the test results that you got in, here are the results that we took over the last 3 or 4 days, and it just disappeared. Long story short, next time I went to India was the first time I went to see Maharajji, and then of course a bunch of other stuff started happening, but I'm sorry to take it up.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? Well, the one who just left was Swami Muktananda's grand initiatory and set up Culture and set up Holiness Ashram. The point being that all those who are, from a spiritual point of view, everyone is connected. Everyone knows each other at that level. Just like we are connected, they're all connected. It's all the same. In the physical world, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, I had one other thing.
Go ahead.
Yes, as I mentioned, my guru was Nimkaluni Baba. Here, Krishnadas, Ramdas, that's my guru for 4 generations. But the one common denominator, I think, and I've again had the grace of meeting Mother Teresa, met the Dalai Lama, met Maharaj, a bunch of other things. And one common denominator, every one of them, exception, the true gurus never differentiate. It's all the same. Gobind Sadan is like utopia. That's the only. There is a sense of peace that just being there gives you. It is unreal. And every guru, my guru, quoted from the Bible or the Quran as if he had written it, and he was a born Hindu. There is not a saint that I have met, a true saint, that has not treated there is no difference between anybody. Spirituality is the same, doesn't matter who your guru is, doesn't matter what the religion is, and doesn't matter who you worship or don't worship. I am sorry, man.
It's fine, Donnie. It's not fine. Don't apologize. Don't apologize. Anyone else? Anyone else want to add something or share something? Well, I want to thank you all for coming. For me, this is a joy. I hope you enjoyed it. And now I'm supposed to get a pen out, and anyone who wants a book, I'm supposed to autograph. I want to introduce a lot of old friends. I think you met my wife, Joginder, 37 years. And we're Betty and Jay and Jen Juswal, my old childhood friend, Jess Miller, my old Syracuse friend, Charlie Borgignoni, Donnie Banerjee, you've already met in one way or another. And Paul Sladkus of Good News Broadcasting, former CBS, did All in the Family producer. Great guy. Please introduce yourselves. I don't know everyone's name. Frank, I already introduced. And please, this is an Anastasia who kindly helped put this together, and he introduced me. And I think all introduce yourselves. It's so good to meet you. Thank you.